Hi, I'm Krutika, and today's conversation is with Raj and Mick. Raj and Mick are the co-hosts of an incredible podcast called Bruvcast. Now, as a fellow Gujarati of a certain generation, all the topics they discuss, albeit from a male perspective, are really resonant and conveyed with a sense of light-heartedness that make it an easy yet impactful listen. I was absolutely thrilled that they agreed to join me for a conversation, and I'll admit I may have been fangirling a bit because they've been in my ear for the last year. Honestly, they're just the nicest guys, and even though we were connecting for the first time online, I felt like I'd known them for so much longer. Their chemistry, warmth, banter, and playful humour made this conversation so easy and effortless, and I can't wait for you to hear more about their journey. We deep dive into how they met, why they set up their podcast, and what they've learnt along the way. Let's face it, we all go through challenges in life, but your perspective can make all the difference. And true to their tagline, Mick and Raj have a way of finding the funny no matter what the struggle. And it's a motto I'm certainly trying to adopt in my own life. Hello, Raj and Mick. How are you guys? It's so good to have you on my podcast.
Hello, how's it going?
How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I feel like I am in the presence of podcasting pros because you guys are like 120 episodes in to your podcast, which is called Bruvcast, and I'm sure we'll talk about that and your journey with that in a moment. But I just sort of want to firstly say thank you for joining me, and it's quite late in the evening as we're recording this. But really what I want to start with, I know you guys because I feel like you've been in my ear for the last year, but I'm conscious that maybe some of my listeners might not know who you are. So can we start with some introductions, if that's okay? And I guess I'll come to you, Mick, first, because you're M and M comes before R in the alphabet.
Oh, fair. I'm Mick, one half of Bruvcast. I don't know what else to say. No, and just want to say thank you for that warm intro. No one ever calls us podcast pros. I never thought I'd ever hear something like that. But no, it's really nice of you to say that. And we're both really ecstatic to be on this. I think you're the pro, Kritika, the way you've organised this, to be fair.
Yeah.
That's a boost to my ego.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm Raj, the other half of Bruvcast. We've been going for about 2.5 years now, and it started off as an experiment. It continues to be an experiment. We do not know what we're doing. We are just stumbling our way through. Somehow we've managed to get to 120 odd episodes, and thank you so much inviting us on this podcast, Krutika. Like it's really exciting to have this conversation. Really looking forward to it. And yes, there's nothing about being a pro. Like it's just, and if there is, I would return that to you, because ahead of this, there was like documentation. These are the themes. These are the topics. I'm going to dive into some of these, but we might not cover those. And I was like, bruv, this is like an interview, man. This is like Jonathan Ross now.
Well, Raj, you're getting a bit of a window into like how I am professionally as well. Yeah. I work for a professional accountancy body, and I'm an accountant before I moved into sort of the education space.
Okay.
And yeah, it's that organisation part of me.
It's good.
That just comes out.
It's good.
Yeah.
Something you carried over.
Yeah,
absolutely. Can I ask, how do you guys know each other? Tell us a little bit about you two and your history even.
We met at uni, and it was a very random way that we met, because me and one of my friends, Situl, who also comes on a couple of guest episodes on Bruvcast, we were living out at uni and we needed a third person, and we didn't know anyone. So we asked a friend of a friend if he knew someone, and he said, "Oh yeah, there's this guy Mick." Ego jaise tamara sathe, bro.
Somebody does it.
Yeah, and then it was basically it. And then we spoke. I think we'd met like a few times. We'd had like a few nights out and stuff, but it wasn't anything like we didn't know each other.
Yeah.
And then Mick moved in. We all lived together first year of university, and then the rest is history. So yeah, it was kind of random. It wasn't like we went to the same uni or anything. Like we went to completely different unis in different parts of London, but we lived together.
They were so desperate, they were willing to let anyone just live with them.
No checks, no security,
I remember,
no CRB.
Do they just want to split the rent with another third person? Was that what it was?
Exactly.
Typical Gujju style,
That's
right?
It. That's it. And I was brown, innit? So it was easy. The habits and everything were probably like-minded. But I still remember when Situl and Raj actually went to see the property we're going to move into, and then as soon as I got there with my parents, both of them were like, "What do you think? What do you think?" I was like, "Oh, this is a lot of pressure, man. This is a lot of pressure." And then they even threw in the biggest room, and I was like, you know what? At the time, now when I think about it, I was like, "Oh, it's nice of them to give me the biggest room," but it was the closest one to the front door. So if anything ever happened to me, they'd know about it, so they can make an exit out the back.
And he basically was like the butler, because he'd have to get the door whenever someone was at the front door. So he had to Jesse Cressner everyone when they came in.
So you basically got the raw deal at the end of it, Mick.
Yeah, exactly. I had to do Jai Pani Nastal, man, to all the friends that came over.
Brilliant. I love it. No, you know what? I love that your friendship started from something like, the university era. And they do say you make friends for life, isn't it? Sort of. I know you didn't go to the same uni, but you lived together during that period. And obviously that friendship has continued on for like, has it been over 2 decades that you guys have been friends now?
Yeah. Easily.
Yeah. And I know through that, when we were talking, we sort of picked up on a few Gujarati phrases, and I wanted to touch on that because what Bruvcast does, and you guys do this brilliantly, you bring in Gujarati phrases into a lot of your conversations. In fact, every episode. Was that a conscious decision when you launched Bruvcast that you wanted to have something that catered to Gujarati people?
I think
that's a great question.
Oh, go on.
You take this one.
I'll take this one. Do you know what? Whenever me and him, I don't know when. I actually do know when it started. It was at uni in that first year, because me and him, I used to stay away from Raj. I was well quiet. I was so quiet. He used to call me a mute. Yeah, that's what he used to call me. I think it was one day we were waiting for one of our dads to come pick us up from uni because we were going back home down south, and we were just in my room. He was lying across the couch, and we were just cracking jokes, and then we just started put Gujarati phrases in there as well. And then from that moment onwards, we do it on our daily lives. Like even before the podcast started, that's how we communicate. And thing is, when we're speaking in code in Gujarati, there's people who are Gujarati who are not understanding what is going on, but me and him know exactly what we're talking about. So it's not something we planned. It's something we wanted to be ourselves as much as possible on the podcast, right? So we've kind of just carried it over.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that what you get when you're listening to Bruvcast is how we would talk to you if we met you on the street or in a pub or anywhere. Like the way that we discuss things, the way we talk, the slang that we use, both English slang, Gujarati slang. We're trying to talk Hindi sometimes. We throw like Hindi sentences in there as well. Like it's just a mix and a mashup. And if I break it down, getting like a little bit philosophical here, I think it's because sometimes you can't convey an emotion well enough in any one of these languages, and because you're able to speak multiple languages, it's actually easier to really convey it in one versus another. And because he can understand it and I can understand him, that's why it just switches. And it's also funny as well at the same time, because you're talking, you might be speaking in English and all of a sudden some random word, it's like, it doesn't even make sense.
Well, this is what I love about it. This is what I love about it. And what I particularly love is when you bring your parents into the mix, literally. Yeah. And I feel that is something that I resonate with so much, because if you're not Gujarati, you're not going to get some of the dynamics of the Indian household and stuff. Like I think on a recent episode, Mick, you were just talking about your dad who must have clicked on a spam link or something, and his voice just like getting elevated, and this sort of imitation of that. I literally was pissing my pants listening to that, because I was like, this is exactly the sort of shit that my parents would be doing as well. So it just feels so resonant. I mean, you guys speak Gujarati very, very well, and I'm assuming you both were born in the UK. Were you both born in the UK? Yeah. Is Gujarati the language that you also want to teach your children, or is it something that you've not yet thought about? Do they speak it at home even?
So I've got a young daughter, and she's 2, and my wife is Punjabi. So there's Punjabi. My wife's also American, so there's American English, then there's British English, and then there's Gujarati. So she's picking up little bits of all of those languages. We haven't made a conscious decision at this stage for her to like be purely like studying or learning Gujarati. It's something that I do think about, and I do want the next generation to carry the culture, because if they don't, then it will die out. So what I would love is for her to kind of embrace it, but I think we also need to kind of set it. So at the moment there hasn't been anything, but I would be considering it. Like even Punjabi, like I want her to be in touch with her roots, like, you know, from both sides, because our culture is amazing. You want the culture to continue. You want them to have the same passion for the culture that we do. So that's the goal. But exactly how you do it is just, yeah, I think we're gonna wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's when they're when they're exposed to the grandparents, the girls understand it, and I want them to learn it. But it wasn't my wife and I don't really speak Gujarati in the house, right? Unless we're trying to speak in code, so they don't understand us. But now they understand us. They say, you know, we understand you now. So now, actually, what's happened is, because we haven't forced it onto them, my eldest, actually both of them they wanted to learn how to count in Gujarati. And then that kind of has spiraled into, oh, Daddy, can you say a phrase in Gujarati? And I want to see if I understand it, basically. I can decode it in English and see if I've understood it. So now it's about speaking it. So now they want to learn, and, you know, they want to speak it a bit more as well. So there's certain phrases they'll say, like, you know, mane pani joye che, or, you know, I want to do this. Sometimes I think now, because we haven't forced it upon them, and they are getting in tune with the culture now as well, with Garba and everything like that. So yeah, I mean, I've never been the one to enforce it, but my wife is really, really passionate about them knowing the culture as well, to be fair. So yeah, it's just about finding the way about going about it. And I think I like the way it's naturally coming about.
Yeah, and it becomes difficult once they're at school as well, because obviously at schools they're taught English. Exactly. And it's interesting you mentioned the Garba, and I was listening to that episode where you guys were talking about the kids' Garba and the tickets for that being a bit of a sellout as well. Did you guys end up going to the kids' Garba? Did you manage to get a ticket?
I got a ticket, yeah. It was good. It was really good. I think what I liked about it is that it helps them understand a little bit more of the meaning and the significance of why we do it. And we never got that. Like, we just turned up and that's it. You just, you know, get on with it. Garba, Dandiya, Ramjani, or whatever it is you want to do. And then that's it. Fuderi with some kako. Like, wait, it's true though, stuff. Bruv, one time, I saw this kid. I think it was actually me, bruv. Yeah, one time I was going in on Fuderi, like in. You know when you just like you stamp your feet like really like ganda ni jem, bruv. Yeah, dun, 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 like that. And he let go. Bruv, I was like a cannonball. I flew, bruv. I don't even think I told you the story. I flew across the floor.
Wait, were you doing fuderi with like the dandiya?
Yeah, with the dandiya. Yes.
Airborne.
Oh wow.
I was airborne. And because I was doing a job, all right, it glides, sliding.
The air just goes straight.
Bruv, aerodynamic.
Dad, Joe, Raji, go,
Udi jai. That's where that song came from.
I mean, it's brilliant. I'm just laughing away to everything you're saying. And your podcast draws so heavily on comedy, right? What does, you know, where has that come from? And has comedy always been something that's been part of your life? I
think for me, 100%, I've always loved like movies, comedic movies of all cultures, right? I think me and him shared that same passion because when I moved in, I had a DVD collection and there was about, I don't know, 20, 30 DVDs there, and they were all, well, I'd say maybe one serious one and the rest were all comedies, right? And there was a few Indian films in there. And I don't know how me and him started watching Indian films, like Indian comedies, like Hangama, Halchal, and Hera Fairy. Yeah, the 3 H's, isn't it? Yeah. And then from there, we would just, you know, crack up all the time and then start using those phrases, you know, in our daily lives, to be fair. And from then, me and him always, I think with him as well, he does a lot of research. I remember at uni, on Sundays, we'd go up to uni together and he'd say, have you seen the new movie, bro? Yeah. And then there's this new movie that's come out, whatever it was. And you downloaded it on DivX and ripped it on DivX or whatever it was and put it on USB. Because we never had internet. We never had internet.
Yeah. This was in Purana Jamana, yeah? This is old time.
Yeah.
Some of your listeners will be like, what? How the hell did you survive with no internet?
And then from that point, we would just watch that during the week and it was just a reoccurring theme. I mean, and obviously when you're growing up, you're watching movies with your parents, right? And sometimes there's one comedic character like Johnny Lever or someone in one of these films, and then they just Paresh Rawal, right? And then it's those people we used to focus on because they used to be the heart and soul of any movie. But anyway, yeah, I'll let you go for it, Raj.
Yeah, I mean, I think comedy is definitely something that, like, I've done like a little bit of stand up. I've done improv, so I've actually performed as well.
Oh wow.
And I wanted to just keep that going. And once we had a little one, it was harder to kind of be able to maintain that. And I always, like, because of our friendship, I always said to Mick, just you should just come to an improv class. Just come to just one class, man. Because I know that he was naturally funny and he's like a really good storyteller. And I really was trying to get him, and he would not, like, he'd always make up some excuse every time. And then I don't know how. I actually still don't know how I managed to pull this off. I don't understand how I managed to get him not only to do this but to keep going for this long. Sometimes I'm like, any minute now he's gonna say, I'm
done. What did you?
And then because I was like, he's good. He's good. I knew that if he can make me laugh, as like there are moments sometimes I will just look at him and we just burst into hysterics. Or sometimes he will say something, or it will be one word that he will say, and it will be like, it's done, I'm done, right? And I know that he has the ability to do that to so many other people. And then I know us together, just because of the way that we talk and what we bring out of each other, I was like, there is something here. Let's just try and see what we can do with it. And then I think that was like what we started with. And the very first episode is just us like figuring that out. And I think it has changed. I think we've matured since that first episode. We kind of have evolved the way that we do our like storytelling, and also the back and forth and like bringing in the stories and stuff. And there is a science to it, right? Like, because I've studied a little bit of the comedy, like callbacks and just kind of like the science of storytelling and stuff. Like, I try and bring some of that into it, but not in an obvious way. So I am a bit of a geek when it comes to just kind of like the comedy aspect to it, because it's something that I enjoy and I'm very passionate about. Because I think it's so nice to be able to make someone laugh. It's like, it's a gift to be able to make someone laugh. Like, when someone tells us I'm in hysterics and I'm like on the train and I'm looking like a weirdo because I'm laughing, that makes me feel so nice, because it's like, I'm making you happy. So that's what it's all about.
No, and I honestly, I totally echo that point about being in hysterics, because there have been so many episodes I've listened to with you guys, whether it's walking, my morning walks down the park, or when I'm cooking or something, and I'm literally just cracking up. And it's such a brilliant feeling, because I feel as adults also, we don't laugh as much, and it's brilliant that you guys have that with each other. We go through life just being so serious when we're an adult, right? So the fact that you guys bring that comedic element is fantastic. Now, you spoke a little bit about how you've grown and evolved through the podcast. Now, actually, can you recall that moment when you were doing the podcast and you thought, oh my god, you know what, we're onto something here?
You take this one for a sec, and then you can. There was, how he was trying to get me on to do improv, and it never happened, right? But with I think when he bought his place, I think I went around a few times, the one that he's moving out of now. And I went over in the evening, because that's when me and him have nothing else. It's just me and him, and we're just chilling, is Zen, basically, right? It's just us. And I remember I was just sitting on his couch. We were just shooting the shit. And then he was like, oh, can we say shit on this podcast, by the way?
Yeah. Everything's
all right. And then
it's too late now. We've already done gotta.
Yeah. And he was like, we should do a podcast. We just like exactly how we are now, talking and cracking joke, we should put that onto a podcast. And I was like, yeah. And that's what I do, right? And I was like, yeah, okay. I think 3 times I went over, and he said he brought it up 3 times. And as I was leaving, I was like, yeah, man, we'll do it, man. We'll do it. Let this phase go past. And then there was one time I remember, it was around Christmas time, and we were just a bit more relaxed, because I think it was like November, December or whatever. This guy, we were chilling for a few hours, and I remember he goes, we should do a podcast. No, we should do the pilot now, bro. We should do it now. I was like, okay. He got a stool and put it in the middle between us. He put the recording thing on his phone, and he said, start. Yeah. And I froze, and he started it and everything. And he was like, Mick, why are you so rigid? Yeah. I was like, I was so stiff. Yeah. And I was like, yeah. Just give me a few minutes, man. Give me a few minutes. You've caught me off guard. And I think it just went from there. I don't even know what we talked about on that podcast, to be fair. But it went from that to, like recording from home. Then we got mics, and it just spiraled into something. And to be fair with him, with Raj, it's like one of these things where when when he wants to do something and he's onto something, he won't stop. Yeah, he will keep going until it happens basically. And it's like but he had to make me believe as well. Like, Jurgen Klopp's got this saying, innit, turning doubters into believers. Yeah. And I always think of this basically because now we're 120 something episodes in and it's like, oh, wow, actually, you know what? There was a vision. He foresaw it. And, I'm just riding it basically at the moment, riding the wave. But yeah, can't go for it, bro.
Wow, ito, get lo fine, man.
We'll find Boleche.
I could keep going.
I would have,
keep going, bro. Keep going.
I would have carried on if you hadn't worn the hat today.
I'm wearing an Arsenal hat to the listeners.
Oh, they were playing today, right? So
Arsenal won today.
Arsenal won. I'm not a football fan, so I can't talk any further to this, but my brothers are huge fans and they went to watch the match at the stadium.
Are they Arsenal fans?
Yeah, hugely. Both of them are. So I've got 2 younger brothers, so yeah.
Yeah, very, very. They're just amazing because their supporters are Arsenal. So yeah, they're very lucky. Very lucky. Very lucky.
Everyone's at Arsenal.
Shout out to your brothers.
Shout out to going on. They've both been on the podcast as well. So yeah. Nice. Actually, the episode that I released just last week, it was my brother talking about unmasking identity, and we both spent a bit of time in India, and it was just that kind of really just like peeling back the layers on what it means to be Indian, British Indian, and sort of growing up with that sort of dynamic, but also just thinking about what is identity. But anyway, I digress. That's me shamelessly plugging a previous episode.
You should totally plug previous 100%. Episodes. You know why? Yeah. No, but you should, because you know what happens if you don't plug a previous episode, someone's going to ask you to talk about unmasking or identity. And then you're gonna be like, Gadera, why didn't you listen to that? I've done it. I've already done it. It happens. It does happen. So you should completely plug it. Plug as much as you can. This is it. This is the one thing that I didn't realize when we started this. If you are doing this and you are making your own content, one of the things about it is shamelessly promote it. Like you can't expect it just to kind of get wings and just fly away. Like you have to be very, very active and be talking about it and bigging it up and giving it the oxygen. So totally do that.
I need to. Yeah, definitely. And I got to say, I know we're totally digressing here, but I love what you guys do on your socials, because much like me, you don't put your face on the podcast, right? As in it's all audio or only format. But what you guys do with your social media snippets is you so creatively piece together different bits, and there's often clips from films and there's actors in there, and there's I just feel the visuals work. Do you use a special software for that, or is it Raj or Mick? Are you both working together to
It's Raj. It's Raj. I'm not even going to pretend it's both of us. I get these, you know what, I don't even get them anymore. But before, I'd get the Instagram post, he'd message it to me. This is funny, isn't it? Yeah. Now he knows, man. He's just
but that's how I discovered you guys, right? Like it came up, one of your little stitches, can't remember which one, popped up, and I was like, oh, what's this? And I was like, oh, let me click on it. Oh my god, this is hilarious. And that's how it. So actually, you're right, there is a point about trying to promote. Obviously my podcasts generally, that they don't have much comedy to them. They're a bit more sort of like about aspects of individuals' journeys, so it's a totally different category. But I love that you've mentioned that you gotta sort of shamelessly plug sometimes.
You should.
Right?
No, yeah. It's so essential to get it out, to do that, and marketing it and all of that. I mean, but it's all like we're still learning. Like we still don't know. We haven't figured it out. Like we're still just kind of like stumbling our way through the whole process.
Yeah, but you do a great job. I mean, sorry, I totally went off on a tangent, Raj. But did you want to pick up on anything about a moment when you thought the podcast was really taking off? Or
I think for me, it was probably when we started getting feedback, because I thought we were funny, and I would leave and this still happens. Like if me and Mick have done an episode, and sometimes we do episodes where like, oh, I'm not sure about that one, and then it ends up being a really good one. And then sometimes we do an episode, and I've laughed. I'm asthmatic, so I've laughed so hard that I'm like wheezing in the episode. Sometimes I've taken Halo before bedtime, and then there's other times where I'm still laughing. I go to bed, and I'm laughing, like I'm trying to sleep. And I keep thinking of what he said or what we said.
You're reliving the conversation.
Yeah, it goes round and round in my head. And then Gagan, my wife's like, "Are you laughing right now?" Are you seriously laughing right now? Your podcast finished an hour ago. How can it be that funny? So I think we're funny, and it was only until we started getting feedback that I was like, okay, we are onto something, because other people thought we were funny, and other people also were saying, don't stop, keep going. And I think that to me was the turning point. Pretty much every comment that we get, it ends with that, like, love the podcast, could you talk about X, Y, and Z, also please keep going. So all of those like signals to me are signs that we are onto something, so keep going.
Yeah. You mentioned feedback there, actually. Can I just ask, has there been any sort of feedback that you've received that stuck out for you the most?
Mick, you're smiling, so you might as well.
I still remember the feedback of the mother-in-law. We assume she was a mother-in-law, right? Because she gave us.
Yeah.
I can't remember what she said, but she said sometimes. Oh no! It was someone who was an auntie or someone, right? It was an episode where we were talking about marriage, and you know when you're single and you're of age to get married, and someone's always like "Lagan aju nati thaya" and all that kind of stuff. We were talking about when that used to happen to Raj, and there was a auntie who said, "We say out of love." Do you remember? We say this out of love, but she was a bit more.
You shouldn't make fun of that, because it's coming from a place of love.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we've had comments like that. We've also had one of our most like popular videos is us talking about our parents hoarding things. And then it ends with like me talking about some guy called Mug and Pie who's given the frying pan. And I only said Mug and Pie that day because we listened to a Champions of Togetherness. There was a Champions of Togetherness video, right? Shout out Champions of Togetherness.
Shout out. Yeah.
And he said Mug and Pie, and Mug and Pie, the name Mug and Pie was in my head. So then I used that same name because I was talking to Mick, and that name popped into my head, and I was saying Mug and Pie, you know, you're keeping your pots and pans, and Mug and Pie's name's inscribed on them, and that had like loads of comments and loads of feedback. But even in that, there's someone saying, "Oh, your your parents were trying hard to make ends meet, and that's why they weren't throwing things away. So, maybe you should have a bit more respect for your elders," or something that effect. Which, in isolation, if that's all we were saying, then okay, fair enough. But the entire episode, and also at the end of that episode, we say pretty much the same thing: of they struggled and hustled so that we could have what we have and lead to the lives that we've had. But obviously that's missing in the thing. So I can understand it. Like, people just take it at face value. But as they say, feedback is a gift. Bring it on. We just take it. I mean, it's up to you whether you want to internalize it or discard it or whatever.
We've learned that actually it's engagement at the end of it, right? Someone's engaging with you, and it's something we have to take on board as well.
Do you find that with people listening to your episodes, they're actually sharing it with their parents and their kakas and chachas or whatever? Do you find that people are doing a lot of that?
We have one listener who will sit down with her parents and play an episode.
Brilliant.
Every episode. Pretty much every episode. And then we get feedback.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. So we do have that. We had one, I remember we got one message once saying somebody's parents were they were in the car and the podcast was on, and they heard it, and then they wanted to listen to it themselves, but they don't have Spotify or Apple, and they were like, "Can you put it on YouTube?" And after that, we put it on YouTube. So
you guys weren't on YouTube before.
We weren't on YouTube before. So then we put it on YouTube, and now YouTube has, it's the same. Like, it's just no video, it's just audio. But like we have it on YouTube as well now.
That's amazing. You guys must be picking up a whole new market in Gujarat, in India, because I feel like the Indians love YouTube, right? It's
we do have listeners in India. There are listeners in India, so which is great. Like, it's just so interesting when we see the countries that are listening. It's like, this is mad. Like, there's people all over the world that are listening to this.
Do you use Zencast? Is it?
We use Spotify and we use Acast.
Okay, so you can see in the back, right, all the countries.
Yeah,
what's been the most random country you've seen?
We had Nepal, we had China.
Oh yeah.
What's the most random country? I think we might have had like Mongolia or something.
Oh.
But then
okay.
sometimes I think to myself, it's just like the 5 people that listen to our podcast that are flying around the world. That's
Taking
all
the
it is.
podcast global.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's all it is. That's it. It's just 5 people that are just going like, we're like, oh wow, there's listeners everywhere, bro. Search Chandresh and his 4 brothers.
And Muggan Bhai.
Goodbye.
So seeing as we're talking about your listeners, could I also ask, you guys do a little segment where you have listener questions. What's been the most random listener question that you've received where you're almost like, I don't even know if I want to address that, or you've held back, or any like memorable questions that you've had?
You go on, you're laughing, so I'll let you go for this one. Go on, because there's a few that there's a mishmash.
The most random one we got was the one that I was like, let me just read this twice. Was it said something around how do you deal with pubic hair or something?
Yeah.
Something like that. Like, how do you deal with pubic hair?
Yeah.
And then it said Happy Diwali, and I was like, how are you using? How are you connected? Why would you start with that? And if you start with that, stay on trend, bruv. Why are you ending it with Diwali? That was the weirdest one. It was the weirdest one. And also, I was like,
Should I ask you, how would you have approached that question?
we answered it.
I missed that episode.
Of course, yeah, if you haven't heard that one's a good one.
We won't spoil it.
I'll go
Yeah,
back.
I won't spoil it. It's a surprise.
No, brilliant.
What was yours, mate?
No, do you know what? I'd probably say, I think it was, no, I can't remember any random ones, but the only one I can remember, the listener question, which was a bit more controversial, was, do you remember we couldn't figure out whether this was a husband or a wife that was messaging in about domestics that they were having, and if it was normal because they had kids, and if it was normal to have arguments on a regular basis. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And I think me and Raj went back and forth. We answered the question, and we said how we approach it, but we could constantly like we're debating with each other that it was a wife because there was this and this, that, and the other in the message. But actually, Raj was right. It was the husband in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you find that out? Did they message back?
They messaged back and said, I'm not using a lot of exclamation marks in my.
Oh yes, yeah.
I never know what to think of exclamation marks because people use it so much now, and I'm a bit like, are you like surprised or shocked? Like, what is? Yeah, it's a bit weird.
It's exclamation marks. I used to use them a lot more, but now I use more emojis to kind of help, convey the feeling. But then exclamation mark is. You get an exclamation mark from the missus and it's bad news, bruv. Yeah. It's never good, bruv. It's rarely good. When you see exclamation mark, yo, bruv, take you, Tarokam.
But did
you? Yeah.
So you mentioned relationships there, obviously. The listener sent in a question about that, but often in some of your episodes, you're discussing relationship dynamics as well. Do you kind of run through with your wives beforehand, like the topic areas? Have you ever had to, and a bit personal, but have you ever had to edit out bits because you've said something and your wife's like, hell no, we are not putting that on the podcast?
We haven't, no. We've never had to edit anything out. I think sometimes I'm like, maybe that's not okay, and then I'm like, oh, actually no, because the thing is, married life is full of friction, and if it isn't full of friction, then something's wrong. So there's always going to be ups and downs. There's always going to be little like bickering and things that are going wrong. You've done something, they've done something, you're trying to figure something out, and sometimes in the heat of that, we have to come on the mic and do an episode, and you're still fresh from the maramari that you've had like prior to that episode on the same day. Sometimes there's been times where I've like had an argument, we've had an argument something. Majority of the time I'm in the wrong, and I'm like, oh man, I'm not gonna have anything. I'm not gonna have no hoya to do this episode, and then I'm like busting up. Yeah. So it's not that we never censor it from that point of view, and I think we're very fortunate because like Gagan, my wife, and also I feel like I can speak for Nish here, is they believe in what we're doing, and they believe in the passion, and they also believe that we are trying to bring into light some of these things that are just very, very common in relationships, in households, in Gujarati households, in immigrant households. Like, these are the things that just we've grown up with, and the things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. if we don't talk about it, no one's going to talk about it. And that's the reason that we're talking about it, is because we want people to feel like they're not alone with a lot of these things. So yeah, I think that's kind of how we feel. But of course, there's moments where you're like, oh, maybe. And some, the thing, the reason why I was like, let's have them on, let's have Gagan and Nish come on, because I did feel like there have, like, as we got, like, I think it was like halfway in, like 30 or 40 episodes into it, and I was like, it feels like we're just complaining about our wives, so let's give them an opportunity to complain back and just address. And also it gives a bit of balance to the podcast, because we also have a lot of female listeners as well, and it's nice to hear the other side of the story. So yeah,
it's one of these things where also, for someone who doesn't have, someone could be married and their friends might not be married, right? So it gives them another kind of layer of advice without having to speak up about certain things that's going on in their marriage, or same with Nish as well. She always once I record, I don't talk to Raj about it, I don't talk to Nish about it, but sometimes someone might say something to Nish like, oh, or crack a joke about something, and she's like, I wonder what this guy is saying on this podcast. Yeah, so I'm so behind, I'm gonna have to listen to it, because that's the thing sometimes with me, and Roger said it as well, when we have no content and we've just had maybe an altercation, or or I don't know, a lovers quarrel as Raj, disagreement, we bring it onto the podcast, but we always sense check with each other, right? Me and Raj do, to say, hey, should we put this on there? Is it a bit too much? But it's never been like that, and we want to be our authentic selves at the end of the day. And then if we feel we're not sure, then we'll run it past the wives, and they've never ever said, no, it's fine, just do what you got to do, right? At the end of the day, there's a line, right, at the end of the day, that you don't want to cross.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the authenticity that you bring to it. And Mick, I think it was you that said you couldn't remember what you said on the first episode. Obviously, me being me, as part of my research, I did listen to episode 1. And actually, what you guys have just said is literally circling back to that. So you mentioned in episode 1 that it's about, just sharing those struggles, men's health, especially, men's mental health, in the kind of Indian community. And I think, Raj, at one point, you must have been newly married when that episode went out. Mm-hmm. So you were saying something like, I'm married, you paused, and then you went, I'm happily married. And then it was funny, because then you literally went into a segment about, I bet you any money if Massey's listening to this, like, why did he pause? And it was just hilarious, because, that is it, isn't it? It's the little things that people sometimes misjudge or misinterpret. And I just love that you bring such, like, realness to your conversations, and they're just so resonant. I mean, obviously you've been doing this now for a couple of years, so how has that changed your relationship or your relationship dynamic, or has it even?
The one thing I would say is that we've known each other for so long, and there'll be times where I'll be talking to him about something on the podcast, and he'll tell me something I've never heard him tell me, like or a story I've never heard in my life, and I'm like, what, this actually happened? And that to me is crazy, because it makes me think that you could be the bestest of friends and still not know everything, which is amazing, because that means there's always something to kind of like pick up on and something to learn from. So I think that to me is what I've like found for sure.
I think it helps, right? Because you become, when you're talking one-on-one, it's one thing, but when you've got a mic and this episode is going to be heard by, I'm not saying, whoever, it's going to be out in the open. I guess the more you do it, you become more comfortable, right? I think with me and Raj, I think from our relationship perspective, I think we've got more understanding for each other. Definitely, it's evolved to another level. So yeah, I can't really say it's changed, a lot, because we always had that thing, that connection, basically, right? Where it's just, even if we don't speak for a while or whatever, we pick up where we left off. But now I probably speak to him as much as I speak to Nish, and the same for anything that happens. If there's some radio silence or whatever, we know something's going on. So then, okay, we'll probably meet up, or we'll talk about it, and we'll, and that's it, basically. But so I think it all started, I think, like 3 years ago, right? When we just started to talk about more serious things that we never used to touch a point, right? But when me and him meet up, it was always about cracking jokes, etc., right? Then I think when he got married, we had another layer of, something in common basically. And I mean, I got married quite young, to be fair. So, and from Rod's perspective, he'd always say, is this normal? Like, this is happening, or this is happening. And I'll be like, actually, now I want to ask him, is this normal? Because we never used to bounce any of this, these kind of things in our home dynamic off each other, basically, right? So we get that reassurance, I guess. And you've got another arm, to lean on, or shoulder to lean on in terms of when things aren't going right and you need someone else to talk to.
The other thing I would say is that the vulnerability that I can have, I can only have that with the only other person is with my wife, and it's, I think that is one of the reasons that, like, there's no shame in saying what I need to say, or how I'm feeling, or what's going on, or what's stressing me out, or what I'm like. I think it's so important, like, for men especially, who tend to bottle things up and just don't talk about things, like, finding someone that they are able to talk, finding someone, whether it's professionally or whether it's personally, like, just finding it and just doing it, and doing it often. I think that even in this relationship, as Bruvcast has evolved, I feel like I don't like Mick saying it, that was not there from the beginning. Like, us talking to each other, like, on a real level, like, I'm struggling with this. That only came, like, past 3-4 years. And I think that's kind of continued to, like, get like to even to another level now with the podcast. And this is, again, this goes back to us, like, why we started this, because we're having these conversations. I don't know if others are, and I'm pretty sure a lot aren't. So, for us to talk about how we're feeling, or for us to talk about some struggles that we're having, and they are struggles that you're having in your marriage. Like, let's be real, the struggles that you're having in your marriage. You're frustrated. You're trying to figure this out. You're trying to make sense of it. You're struggling with being a parent. You're dealing with guilt. You feel guilty about being a bad husband, or a bad father, or a bad son, or a bad brother. It's constant. And I think at this stage in our lives, there's so many things and so many demands that are pulling you in like 100 directions. If you don't, like, get a grip of it, it can be very, like, it can be detrimental. So talking about it is, like, the best thing, and we've tried to do it through humor. But again, going back to this whole point, I think it's us being able to talk about that with each other that has, I think, it's just kind of taken that next level.
Yeah, so beautifully put. I mean, you spoke about their sort of mental health, and especially like in that kind of Indian community and Indian men. Do you feel that with your podcast now, your friends are opening up to you, let's say, a little bit more? I know you've had guest appearances from like Hiran and Siddhul, and, maybe you have other boys around you. Fernandez, I've heard his name being mentioned as well. So are they opening up to you a little bit more?
I think so. I think that, I mean, the tagline is share the struggle, find the funny. If you're coming on the episode, you've got to come with a struggle. And it could be anything, right? It could be tiny, or it could be something bigger. And I think sometimes it's not that is what is the meat of the story. Maybe it's something underneath it, and that will come out in the episode, or will come out, like, in about, maybe even after the episode's finished, we're still talking about something. So I would say that it has. And I think that that whole kind of like tagline has led to more closeness and more like conversation.
Yeah, 100%. I think, and even if it hadn't, right? They know, like, because we're having these conversations now, they know where that space is, right? That safe space is, and we all know that. Because I think it's nice to have that kind of brotherhood where you know where, okay, if I can't talk to my wife about something, I can go here basically, and then get what I need, basically get all the advice I need, and so I can tackle whatever issues there are.
Yeah. Seeing as you mentioned your tagline, share your struggle, find the funny. Bit of a personal question, if you don't mind me asking. Have there ever been instances where you've almost held back or thought twice about sharing a particular struggle? And you don't have to tell me what that struggle might have been. Feel free to if you want to. But yeah, how did you kind of manage that?
Do you want to go first, Raj?
I think there's definitely been times where there's been stuff that I've held back, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready to say this. And sometimes it's because you're in it. You're literally in it, and you're trying to just get a grasp of what's the fucking way out of this thing, man? This fucking tunnel keeps going further inside. It's on that level though, and it's, for me personally, until I'm out of it and I've kind of seen it and I've zoomed out and looked at the big picture, it's very hard to be like, how would I tell this? How would I explain it? How would I talk about this journey that I've been through? So there are things like that I have been through that haven't come out on the podcast, and it's because I'm still in that fucking tunnel going through it. And then there's others that I'm like, I've just come through, or I've just come out of it. Like these boxes behind me is because we're moving house. We're literally moving house on Tuesday. And this, I've not discussed this on any episode. I haven't even mentioned the fact that we're looking to move or that we're dealing with estate. I've none of it because we've been going through this. This is the third house that we went through because it fell through so many times. So I think there are instances where it's like the story isn't finished personally for me to tell it publicly, and until it is, I won't. So there's that, and then there's also there are other situations where it's like we tend not to talk about certain topics, but then sometimes we kind of get so close, but we don't talk about it. And like I think there was the one episode where I was talking about buying condoms, and then I was like, oh, should I keep this in? And I go back and forth on it. And I was like, actually, it was a funny episode. And why the fuck not? We're talking about sexual health. We're talking about being responsible. I'm going to put it out. And I did. So I think there are certain situations when you're like umming and ahhing, and like just a shout out to Hiren, our like the most recent addition to Bruv. He is edgy as fuck. Like he does not care. And like, I think it's good to have that as well, because it's like, sometimes there's things that are going on in that department as well that people want to talk about, or people are struggling with, or people are dealing with. So I think that's an area that we haven't really gone too far into. Like, yeah, maybe not, never, I don't know, right? But I think we do have some loose boundaries on the podcast, and sometimes we like push up against those, and then other times we just kind of like stay in the zone,
stay in the lane.
Stay in the lane.
Exactly.
Stay in the lane.
I think personally it's helped. Like, I'm normally a closed book in terms of opening up on something like this. So it got to a point where I was going from not opening up at all and being rigid to opening up like a lot. And Raj just asked me, like, are you sure you want to put this out? Yeah, man. There was one instance where we put something out and I thought, I don't know if it's after a few months. Do you remember? I said to you, can you cut it out? Yeah, because it wasn't. It was a funny story about about me basically, but it affected two people who I care about deeply, obviously. And I was like, oh, I don't know how they take that basically, because it's humor in a non-humorous situation basically. So I thought, okay, but now, and even though both those people said, you know what, it's fine, keep it in, it's not a problem. But at the same time, I know they'd say yes for me for anything basically, and I was like, you know what, let's just. And then Roger, we took it out basically, but. I think there's always that fine line, and we should know we've got enough between us basically to bounce off each other to see whether we're going to go ahead with it or not, right? Because I've got a responsibility. If he's talking about something personal and I feel it's too out there, then it's my responsibility to say to him, hey, look, we can't put this out, have a think about it, etc. And then I expect the same from him.
Yeah, especially when there's another party involved. Just for context, the next episode I'm publishing on Tuesday this week coming is one where I actually divulged a little bit about my own personal journey. I was quite nervous about kind of putting that out there in the ether because, again, it's not just about me, it also involves my husband. And so that point you mentioned about when there are other people involved, and also the reaction that you might receive. I don't know about you guys, but I certainly get nervous about that. And I'm still trying to work through that and not really think too much about, what others are going to think. But yeah, it doesn't come easy. So no, I appreciate you sort of sharing a bit of that. Just to sort of wrap up, I mean, you've been doing this for a few years now. What have you learnt about yourselves?
That Raj can force me to do anything and I'll do it over time.
Like Chinese water torture, bro.
I'll let you go first, man.
What have we learned about our like
Yeah, about
as a group
yourselves,
or as individually?
as individuals. Have you learned anything as individuals about yourselves through the journey?
It's kind of what Mick alluded to earlier. I know I can be very persistent and like a dog with a bone, literally, about certain things. And there has been moments where this podcast has been so hard to keep going, like very difficult to maintain it. Like we both are doing this just muffled, right? And we're finding the time to do it on top of having demanding jobs, on top of having children, having parents, commitments, like all of that. So it has definitely been tricky to keep it going. What I've learned is that I believe in it. And I didn't I've always believed in it, like, and there's something there. But I think I believe in it so much that I do not want to let this die. I don't want to let it go because there is something here, and I will keep fighting and keep kind of I have turned up to record where I've been like in just I'm not well, my throat is sore, I'm like sniffling, like I've literally had like my nose is blocked on episodes, and I said, my neck, bro, my nose is
Yeah,
blocked.
my
I'm sorry. Yeah. And it is, and I didn't think that I would have that much fire for this, for something that is it's just a hobby. That's all this is. It's just a hobby. So yeah, that's what I've learned.
For my, I think, yeah, exactly how I echo everything Raj said. But I think for me personally, it's more. I was always anxious about being on something which is out there, basically. So, we went with it. I think for me, what's made the biggest difference is every time, I felt there's so much going on, and I was like, you know what, am I going to be able to do this? There's a message. He would send me a text message of feedback from someone, and I think that's what fueled me even more. Basically, like, you want to give back, you want to do something, right? And all we're doing is we're giving our time, right? At the end of the day, I mean, I give an hour and a bit. Raj gives a lot more time than I do because he does all the editing, etc., right? So at the same time, it's like that, those little, when people message to say, hey, really enjoying the podcast, keep going, and it's like, it's like the listeners know that we need that push, or I need that push to keep going, right? And so I think that what I've learned is, at the end of the day, I'm making a difference in some way, basically, and we're both making a difference, and yeah, it's got to keep believing in ourselves, basically, to keep going, I guess.
And it's great that you have that passion for doing something, as Raj, you put it, muffatcha, like, you guys are putting your precious time and night, again, totally echo, I'm doing this on top of a full-time working corporate role, which both of you guys, and add to that, you lots are also dads as well, and, that's, I can only imagine just the time restrictions that you must have. So, thank you for doing what you do, because I am an avid listener and I do listen to a lot of your episodes, and even the time that you've generously given me today. And I'm conscious we're recording quite late, so I promise I will wrap up with one final question, which I ask all my guests, and it is, what journey are you on next?
Raj?
The next journey. You say, bro.
I think so. We definitely want to do like a live show. That's something that we definitely want to. Did I just say that prematurely, or have we said this out? I don't know. We definitely.
No, we've
want to do a
already
live
said
show.
it.
Yeah.
We've been saying it since the beginning of the year, bro.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this is one thing where Raj had to just keep poking it at me. But yeah, I think that will probably be our face reveal, I guess. Right? That's what we're going to do.
The live show is. We're trying to figure out dates, but it's something I've been wanting to do for a long time, because I think that it's nice to for people to put a face to the name, and like, it's weird though, sometimes with like growing up, you'd hear, I don't know if you guys, or definitely me, you'd like Sunrise Radio, and then you'd like listen to the radio, and like that voice is so like, you hear that voice all the time. And you're like, I have no idea what this person looks like. And then you see their face, like, oh, luggage. And that's probably what will happen. Oh, my luggage. Okay. But like, I think it's nice to just kind of like do that. And also, it'll be nice to meet people who are listening to the podcast. And it's also a different challenge for us. This isn't, it would really be taking it to the next level. Doing something live, unscripted, like just how we are. We'd have obviously a few things that we'd want to prepare. Different format, other things that you need to think about. But again, it's just growing and learning. Like you have to keep moving. You have to keep pushing yourself. I would say, like, just because I work in tech and, you know, with everything that's going on with AI and everything, it's unclear what the next 10 years are going to look like, what the next 5 years even are going to look like. And I think it is the time to just grow and fail and try new things, even if they're scary and, you know, it's pushing you into, you know, an area that you feel super uncomfortable, and you're not, like, you think, oh god, I'm gonna really, really fail. I think we should be doing more of that, especially the older that you get, because I feel like the older that you get, you just want to be comfortable. You want to be, like, just very, very, like, in a predictable life. I don't want nothing that's gonna make me feel. I don't want to be out in the cold. I want to be inside with the blanket on and nice, warm, cozy fire. Like, that's what I want. That's not what the growth isn't going to come like that. And I think that it's really good to be able to do that. And I think that's kind of what we want to do with the show, because it is us putting us out Nagra in the cold.
Do you know what? Honestly, that, can I just say, I'm so excited about your live show. That's, like, amazing. And not gonna lie, before we hit record and I saw Mick's face, I was like, oh my god, there's Mick.
I was like, oh.
And the same.
Yeah.
And obviously you guys don't put your face on your socials as
Yeah.
well. So no, that's incredible. So does that mean I'll be able to get, like, early pre-sale tickets?
Of course,
And you guys
100%. You'll get the early ticket. You'll get the early.
I'll be happy to
release.
pay as well. Yeah, I'm not saying Muffa Joey. Are you looking at?
No. You'll get the early release.
That
Do not worry.
sounds sweet. And can I also just say, Raj, your little segment there about getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, I feel like, well, that's some deep stuff, you know, Raj. We've seen, like, you know, you're a deep thinker, which is good. And you too, Mick, obviously.
No, I don't feel left out.
It was, you know, part of that was for you as well, right? Like,
Yeah.
Krutika, like, I think what you're doing, what you're starting with the podcast, the journey that you're on, the topics that you're discussing, you know, the types of episodes that you have, the conversations that you're having, you know, you're having people that are being vulnerable, that are talking about journeys that they've been through, some, like, that are really maybe difficult to talk about, maybe upsetting to talk about, and you're going through that. You know, your background is not in this. You're in the corporate world, so this is new for you, right?
Yeah.
But you're clearly good at it, because you, like, the way you've prepared this, the way that you've
Yeah.
conducted it, the flow, like, it's on point. So you should definitely keep going.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, looking forward to just, you know, seeing what comes next from your episodes as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Raj. I'm going to snip and trim that bit, maybe shove it at the front.
Do it. Put it as your trailer.
I will. Right, thank you so much, guys, for joining me. It's been absolutely amazing, and I feel I've really gotten to know you. I felt I knew you already before this with the amount of episodes I've heard, but it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
pleasure for
much.
us as
Thank
well.
you so
Thank
much
you.
for having us. It's been awesome, and it was just, yeah, natural conversation.
I can't believe it now. You know, it's gone so quick. To be fair, it's so flawless the way you prepared it. So really commend you for it as well.
Yeah. We
Thank
need
you
some
so
tips.
much. Thank you for listening to this episode of Journeys with Krutika. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and share. I'd love for you to hit the follow button wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you have a journey that you want to share, email me at journeyswithkritika@gmail.com or reach out via my socials. I'm on Instagram and TikTok. Just search Journeys with Krutika, because your journey is extraordinary.